Good morning. I need Pastor Mike. Mike.
Michael. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. We are so glad you're here. You may notice the stage looks a little different with the people. Your singers got a little younger. We're actually doing Youth Sunday today, so you guys will get to experience some of our youth leading worship, but you'll also get to hear from some of our youth their story, what's going on in their life, and just filling you in. So I am excited. These ladies sound wonderful when they sing, and I just would ask that you would stand and join us in worship today.
You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, mending every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. 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 Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. We're here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. Call me out upon the waters, the great unknown. My feet may fail, and there I find you in the mystery, in oceans deep. My faith will stand. And I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace. For I am yours, and you are mine. Your grace abounds in deepest waters. Your sovereign hand will be my guide. My feet may fail and fear surrounds me. You've never failed, and you won't start now. And I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace. For I am yours, and you are mine. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace, where I am yours, and you are mine.
Hey God, please bow your heads. Hey God, I want to thank you for bringing us here today, and I want to thank you for giving us this chance to be able to praise you and worship you. And I pray for our two speakers today, Grace and Anthony, and I pray that your words flow through them. It's in your name that I pray, amen.
Well, good morning, everyone. I hope you guys are excited as I am to hear kind of what's been going on in our youth group. I know last year we did a youth Sunday and Anthony preached, so you'll get to hear from him again a little bit today and what's going on in his life now, but you'll also get to hear from Grace. And I just asked them to share, and it's going to be a little different. Not each one of them are going to do a sermon to give you notes on, but they're going to tell you what they've been doing in their lives here lately, what's going on. Grace is going to be sharing about a trip, and Anthony's just going to be sharing what's been going on in the last year and a half in his life. And I just hope, and I've been praying that you guys will hear something that relates to their story, to your story, and that God would speak to your heart. We have a little bit of scriptures, and I'll kind of share with you some of that. But really, I just want you to hear what's going on in some of our kids' youth, or some of our youth's lives. So just so you guys know who has been up here so far, Ren was here, Becca was here, Hannah was here, and then Josh was the one who just came up and prayed. And thank you guys for doing that. I know that's not comfortable to just stand in front of people and sing, or maybe come up and pray in front of people. So thank you so much for doing that, guys. We have been actually meeting. We stopped because of the whole COVID thing for a few weeks. But once the group's size got back up to 25, we decided, hey, our youth, they lost school. They lost all of their activities. They need something to do. So we decided to start meeting. And when we started meeting at the beginning, the first night, I expected maybe 10 to show up. We had like 28. So we were a little bit above the number. So the next week, I realized, okay, they're going to show up. We need to split up guys and girls. And we did a series called Alpha throughout the summer. And that got us through today and into the school year a little bit. But we also did some things. We didn't just stay at home. We were able to do a trip. And I want Grace to share a little bit about the trip, what it did for her, what it meant for her, and then I'll share a little bit more, and you'll hear a little bit about where we went and all that. So Grace, Cordy, would you please come up? I want to grab that mic right there. So Grace, first you better tell them school, age, all of that fancy stuff, and then you can tell them a little bit about the trip from there.
So I go to Columbia City High School. I'm a senior this year. And like Mike said, I did go on the Nashville trip with the youth group. It was the first youth trip that I've ever been on with this church. I've been attending this church for 2 years with my family, and I have loved it so far. One thing that was hard to get into was youth group because I was really shy when we started coming here. So this
All right, I'm going to ask you a couple questions just about this trip so they know. So can you kind of explain a little bit to them, and I'll help you if you need it, the house that we stayed at, what it was like kind of deal. So I'll fill you in a little background. We had 15 or 16 kids go, and we had Sam and Aaliyah went with us. My family went, our kids and went. And then we also had Jesse and Emily, and I think I'm forgetting someone. If I am, I'm sorry. It's not because I don't care about you. It's just I'm up on stage winging this a little bit. But we had that was our group. We had about like 21 people or something like that. It was a lot of fun. But explain the house. Like, what did it look like? Like, what was it? So they kind of know.
Yeah, so we had like 3 townhouses that were close together, and the boys stayed in one, and then there was a family house, which is where we all came together for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then the girls had a house. I think each house had 4 or 5 bedrooms.
Yeah, I found this great deal on Verbo for this like triplex, and so they all had 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. I was like, this is perfect. We're gonna do it, and I'll explain a little bit more of that when we get in a second. But explain kind of what was your favorite thing, our outing that we did, so that way they know. Because you said we did some outings. What was your favorite thing we did?
Definitely the escape room. We did like a horror-themed escape room, and that was a lot of fun because my brother Josh, he thought it would be funny to scare everyone, and so he just went around the entire escape room scaring everyone. But yeah, that was a lot of fun, and I think it definitely brought us girls together. And Mike was one of the only guys that was with us, and he was trying to figure out everything because we didn't know what we were doing.
I'm kind of competitive, so when I get in an escape room and I want to escape, like that's my goal. So I was pretty intense with the girls, like stop being scared, let's just go, let's move, let's go, we got to get through this step. So and none of them cried, luckily, because I would have felt bad for that. But it was a lot of fun. Is there anything worship-wise, speaking-wise, that really stuck out to you that you want to share? I mean, you shared the last night, but any like particular thing that stuck out to you, or if not, that's okay. I just figured I'd ask.
Yeah, so every day, either it was Mike, Sam, or Christian that would teach something that day. And one of them was relationships and how to deal with relationships, whether that's friendships or boyfriend-girlfriend type things. And that definitely helped me to see with my friends, like what I needed to do to adjust those relationships. Because that was something that I did feel like I needed to get away from when I went on this trip. I needed to have clarity about some of my friendships because they weren't the best. So that definitely helped me over the trip.
Well, I just want to tell you guys the difference. Like this would have, like Grace said, this would have never happened last year. And really, last year when I'd see her on Sunday mornings, I'd go and say hi, and it was like a smile, maybe a hi, and run away from me because I don't want to talk to you anymore. And now she's every Wednesday night there. She's a part. She's really became like family, and it's been awesome to see her grow, to see her smile, to see her be happy at youth group, and just see the kids getting along with each other. And that was one of the really cool things. So give Grace a round of applause, please. So like Grace said and alluded to a little bit, she signed up originally for a trip to Florida. So COVID this year made this the most interesting summer I have ever had as a youth pastor. I planned, I think, 6 different youth trips this summer to go on, 5 of them being canceled, 1 of them actually working. And the one that worked was the one that should have worked, in all honesty. The work camp that we usually go to, that we've been to, is a great camp. I want to go again sometime in my lifetime with our youth group. But this trip, I told Sam afterwards, and I've told some of the youth counselors and youth, it was a special, different kind of trip because it was just our group, because that's all we really could do. I couldn't plan anything with anybody else. It was basically planned within a week and a half, 2 weeks. Me and Christian just worked really hard, and I'm so thankful Christian was here to help me with it, because if not, I don't know that I could have planned it all by myself. And then the fact that Sam said, hey, I'm willing to go, that sounds like fun, to have your senior pastor go and just be there was amazing. And it was just really neat to see our group connect, because so often when we do youth trips or things in the summer, there's so many other things going on that there's excuses For reasons the kids can't go. And they're not all bad excuses. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just they have a lot, our kids have a lot going on. And this summer there was nothing. So the fact that I said, hey, last minute, I'm going to do this trip if you want to go. And I mean, literally, there was 2 weeks to sign up, and I have 15 kids. Okay, yeah, I'm going. It was never happens. I mean, usually for me to get 15 kids to go on a trip, it has to be 2 or 3 months out of planning and kind of, come on, you want to go? It'll be fun and all this. And then a week ahead of time, I still only have 10, and it's like, whoa, what's going on? But it was really kind of cool. But I want to share you the verse that we kind of use as our theme throughout the week, and it's Matthew 16, verses 21 through 28. And I'm going to read the Message version because that's what we did. We called it the Nashville trip. We called it our road trip, and we, like Grace said, we rented like 3 townhouses right next to each other. The middle one was the family. Sam and our family stayed there, and we made breakfast and ate breakfast together, and we made dinner, and we'd had the kids help clean up and prepare for that. But then we also did breakout sessions. We did some worship, and it was just a really good time for the guys to get together in their space, and they had their own little house, and of course, there was some pretty strong goofing off in that room and area. And the girls, they had their own area, and I'm sure there was goofing off, but, I didn't have to yell at them as much. Boys, like they start wanting to throw stuff and break things, and then you got to tell them no. But they all did great, and we all had a lot of fun. And we even tried to, because of COVID, we tried to be really aware of, hey, when we go out on the town, like, we wore a mask, and we tried to not go during busy times. We went out during lunch, and we got to eat at some really good restaurants in Nashville, and it was a lot of fun. But the verse and passage for the week that we went off was this. It's Matthew 16, 21 through 28. It may not line up with yours because I'm reading from the Message version. That's the one that we use because it just fits so well. Then Jesus made it clear to his disciples that it was now necessary for him to go to Jerusalem, submit to an ordeal of suffering at the hands of the religious leaders, be killed, and then on the 3rd day raised up alive. Peter took him by the hand, protesting, "Impossible, Master, that can never be." But Jesus didn't swerve. "Peter, get out of my way. Satan, get lost. You have no idea how God works." Then Jesus went to work on his disciples. "Anyone who intends to come with me has to let me lead. You are not in the driver's seat. I am. Don't run from suffering. Embrace it. Follow me. I will show you how." Self-help is no help at all. Self-sacrifice is the way, my way, to finding yourself, your true self. What kind of deal is it to get everything you want but lose your soul? What could you ever trade for your soul? I'll just stop there, but that was the main passage that we kind of shared over the week, and the whole idea was this idea of just letting go and just letting God be in control. And it was neat to see that getting the kids away from just the chaos and just letting them be and hear and from God. And the big questions that we asked them each night, and we asked them to go over in their small groups, was the same questions we ask you on Sunday morning is, what is God saying to you, and what do you need to do about it? And because we were out and about, and because we had some time and we had the small groups, we really challenged the small group leaders, and we challenged the youth to really hold each other accountable to doing what God asked them to do, because we believe, Sam and I and the church believe, that when we do what God's telling us to do, that's when transformation happens. That's when our lives change. That's when Grace can sit up here on stage and say, I would have never done this a year ago. Not because Grace is perfect, but because Grace is starting to listen and follow what God's telling her to do. And it's not easy, and we need each other. And that's what we kept telling the youth is, this time together, this time that you have, use it because you need to encourage one another, because following God, it doesn't always make sense. It isn't always easy, but you need each other. And another person who has been following God and also went on this same trip is Anthony. I asked him to do something that he didn't really want to do. I'm giving you a little heads up ahead of time. But Anthony, if you would start coming forward, hopefully he still will. And But I asked him to share his story from like the last year and a half, 2 years, and if I'm honest, he didn't really want to, and he didn't want to for good reasons. It's hard, but I challenged him a little bit, and he said yes. And so I'm gonna let Anthony tell you what's been going on the last year and a half, 2 years. So take it away.
All right, so I'm gonna just start a few years ago, and that was it with my best. And so I was at camp, freshman to sophomore year, and I went into camp thinking,
All right, can you tell him what camp?
oh
And
yeah,
I should have told you. I set you up bad. Can you tell him where you go to school and like what grade you're in? Sorry, my bad. I should have. I told you I'd set you up better. I didn't.
I'm a senior, and I go to Columbia City High School, and is that the only two questions? you
Camp.
have?
Tell him what camp.
Kentucky camp. So Kentucky camp is just something that it's over the summer camp that we go to, and I actually go for 2 weeks. So usually the first week is junior high camp, and then the second week is senior high camp. And so I went freshman to sophomore year. I went with some sort of I wanted to hear from God, and so I had this desire to figure out what He wanted me to do. And so I went that year, and I was getting kind of through the week, through the first week. The second week came, and I was starting to move with the Lord and take steps. And I got called into ministry that year, and so I feel like I got called into ministry, and that was what I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear something, but I really wanted to go into that camp. I wanted to be called into ministry, so I did. So I'm excited. So I come home, and as I'm coming back, I'm like, I need to figure out what I want to do. Like my next step. I started to form a Bible study. Figured out with some friends, tried to figure some places out where we could do it. And as that went on, I started.
Well, can you tell him when was the Bible study, and where was it at? Kind of deal.
So the Bible study was Thursday, every other Thursday. We would meet after school, at school. So we'd meet in one of the rooms, and our principal was really nice about it. He let us use the room every other Thursday. And so it was one of those things where it was the Tuesday, Wednesday leading up to Thursday that we would meet. The kids would get excited, like everybody would get excited. It was like Tuesday or Wednesday, I'd be like, so what's your lesson? What are we doing this week? And so they'd ask me and they'd talk to me about it. And so it was something that I was able to use in school to stay connected with God and stay connected with my friends. And it was something that I had my full heart and it was my passion to do that. Until one Thursday. One Thursday, one of my closest friends decided to use this opportunity to call me out and say everything that I was doing wrong. And it hurt. And he wanted to hurt me. He wanted me to take a few steps back to my faith, and I did. That's something I took a few steps back, and I was like, whoa, I don't really want to be on these front lines anymore. Why would I want to be up here if I'm getting hurt? And so, as time continues, I put walls up. I didn't want to be close to anybody. I wanted to stay away. So we continued to meet. A few times after that, I just kept feeling every time I'd go in to Bible study, it was like they would look at me and they just, I felt like they believed what he called me out on. And so I started to lose my passion in it. I didn't want to be there anymore. So baseball season was coming up. So I used that as an excuse to stay away from Bible study. I was like, I have baseball season coming up. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to have to stop doing it. And so I tried to keep it going after I got hurt. But that baseball season was my excuse to stop. This time I go through baseball season. Everything's fine. I was waiting for camp to come. I wanted camp because that was I felt like my one moment I know I'm going to go there and God's going to be there. I know he's going to be there. So I was waiting for it. So this year, it was actually different. We had senior high camp first, which is high school, and we had middle school camp second. So they flipped the weeks on us this year. And this year, I went the first week, senior high camp. I'm starting to feel God. I'm like, all right, this is awesome. This is what I wanted. This is what I needed. And as I'm going through the week, I'm starting to move. In the last week, middle school camp, some friends come and, different counselors trade out. And so the last night of junior high camp, we meet. All the counselors come together and meet in the pavilion, and we all talk. And we have fun that night. And so that night, we were all talking, having fun, when Christian sat down and he's like, listen, I've been having these spiritual warfare dreams. And these spiritual warfare dreams of like waking up and having a dark presence on him, or having just a demonic scream in his dream. And one of those things is just like hearing that coming out of somebody that I trust like that. It was gut wrenching. It was horrifying, and it was scary. As we're talking, a few minutes later, up and walks away. And so Christian goes over and talks to him. And as Christian's talking to him, he realizes it's more serious than what he can just do. So he calls Taylor and a couple of his friends over, and a couple other counselors over. So Taylor goes over and they pray. And they probably prayed for an hour or so, I'd have to say, before. And we were all just kind of sitting, everybody else that wasn't involved, just sitting at the tables, not really thinking that friend just needed a minute to talk to him. So we were going to let it happen until we realized they'd been over there for an hour. So we all start to figure out what's going on. We get up and we go over to start praying. And by this time, we saw that my friend had been on the ground. He couldn't stand up. He wouldn't. He had to be as close to the ground as possible. Taylor said that when he looked in his eyes, they were completely black. And as they were praying, he said, my friend that was on the ground said that we were hurting him from praying. So, after a little bit, everything started to come back to normal, and he was fine. We believe that he had been possessed by some sort of demon or demonic sin. We don't really know what happened fully, but all I know is I was freaked out. I didn't want to be close to God. I wanted to run away. Why would I want to be on the front lines when I could? Something like that.
Have you ever experienced anything like that before, or would you been like? How weird was that for you?
It was something that I hope to never see again. But is that what you're asking?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. So as I go home, my spiritual high that I thought I had was gone. I wanted to put walls up and I wanted to be in a box. I just wanted to go through the motions. I didn't care at this point. I was scared and I was ready to get away. Junior year starts up. I just continue through the motions. I wanted to stay away from God, and I kept some friends, some close friends. Through that year, a couple months go in, and me and that friend, the friend who called me out in Bible study, actually, we got in another argument. And this argument was done. We were done being friends. So that hurt. But I had two close friends, and one of them left. So I was down to one close friend. And I stuck close by. Me and him were pretty tight. And all through the year, I just kept going through the motions. I didn't want to go out. I just wanted to goof off. There was no seriousness in my life anymore. So as quarantine goes to start, so COVID comes, and we're about to actually shut down the school. Me and the other closest friend got into an argument, and he didn't want to be my friend anymore. So now I've lost both my friends. And so I just felt lost in the wilderness, lost everywhere. I couldn't figure out anything. Quarantine came, and I couldn't be more excited because I didn't want to go to school and face my friends. Well, my old friends. I didn't want to be with them. I wanted to be alone, be by myself. And I was fine with that. I was able just to do my own thing, go through the motions, and not feel anything. And I was watching church. Every Sunday I'd watch online, but it was so hard to focus. I was starting to fade in that aspect of watching. Until I saw a lesson that Mike gave. Sunday, April 19th, Mike gave a lesson on pruning and how they go through and they cut the branches on like fruit trees or whatever, and they prune branches. They prune branches away, and so they clean the tree up to make it grow more and sprout more. And that gave me a different outlook on what I was dealing with. In my life, I felt like it was all my fault. That it was like, what's wrong with me? Why would my friends want to leave me? And so I realized that it wasn't my plan, but it was God's. That he was pruning my friends away, for they were there a few years to be there to help me grow, but now their time with me was done, and that's okay. Because as time continued, I started to think about this verse, Jeremiah 29:11. So that verse says, "For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. They are plans for good, not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope." So that's where I felt. I felt like God had that plan for me, that he pruned those people away from me so that I could have that plan, that I could go and I could sprout, I could become bigger and blossom. So now, my story isn't for you to go, "Oh, Anthony, you've had it so tough," or, "Oh, Anthony, you've had a real tough story." But it's for me to talk about this moment right here in my life. Talk about the moving forward, the moving on, and the trusting in God. When school started this year, I was so excited because I wanted to start my internship at this church. My internship is every day from 9:30 to 11. I come here, and it's just a place where I can be real, I can be open, and I know they'll trust me and help me through anything I have to say. wanted to go through the motions, and I wanted to be in the back. This year I've started to change, and I've taken that leadership. One more thing is being in that small group in our youth group. And I like to be open and real with that small group. That was something that was hard for me, is to be that vulnerable with those kids. Because they are close friends, but I didn't want to tell them about my life. I didn't want to scare them away. So being vulnerable has been more than saying I'm okay. When I was junior year, I would just say I'm okay. I didn't want to talk, or I'm good, and I'd walk away. I didn't want to talk about it. Now I'm willing to say, if somebody asks me how you doing, not very good. Talk. Fine with that.
It's been really cool to see Anthony, because what he's saying is so true. I remember this time last year, I'd ask Anthony, "How are you doing?" And he'd give me the attaboy, I'm okay. And I'd be like, "Anthony, you're not really okay." I know. I was like, "You want to talk about it?" Nope. Okay. Because I've learned when somebody doesn't want to talk about it, they don't want to talk about it. And I could just see his demeanor and how lost he was, honestly. Not like a way totally disown God, but just he was trying to do it himself. And it's been neat to see him try to start letting people back in. And I think Anthony and I have talked a little bit about this. Some of his friendships probably paid a price because of the fact that he put up all these walls. And it's hard to be a friend when you can't really be a friend because you don't know what's going on. And so that's a little bit too. But now seeing Anthony try again and to restart. And what would you say now compared to when you were in that wilderness? What is the difference? Like, what do you see differently? Like, as far as, I know you felt really alone now. How are you starting to feel now? What is things looking like now for you? Like, do you see more hope? Do you see how's it working trying to let people in again and be vulnerable a little bit?
As far as the vulnerable part, it's just that internship, like I said, is coming here and meeting with Mike. I'm able to talk to him every morning about something that's gone on in my life, something that's happened. And then friends for me are family. When I have a close friend, they're a brother. They're right next to me, and I love them. So that's one thing about starting the school year back up, was I was able to get close to some of my friends that necessarily weren't close friends, but when I lost my two closest friends, they became my close friends. And so that's something I was able to start moving with them about, and now having conversation with them, with the Lord, and talking to them about that stuff.
And I think one of the things too that I think Anthony would attest, the passage I just read kind of fits into him pretty well. When Anthony first had this spiritual high, like most of us want, when he came back, I thought, in all honesty, I did Anthony a disservice, and probably because he was taking on front lines, like he couldn't shut up about Jesus. Like, it was really cool that after he talked about that Kentucky camp that he came back from, and it was just amazing. And as a youth leader, I know that high and know what it is, but I also know that there's an enemy that wants to steal, kill, and destroy it. And as a leader, I did a poor job of praying for Anthony and trying to encourage Anthony in that way, because it is a spiritual battle. I don't think either one of us probably were aware of that. I wasn't as aware of the spiritual realm that there was back even then. And now seeing our church, seeing some of our youth take ground and actually have firsthand experience of some of this spiritual warfare that doesn't really seem comfortable, doesn't really seem fun, scares, at least I know it scared Anthony to death. I know it scared Christian to death. I know it scared Taylor to death. Like, it was life-changing for all three of those guys, and I respect all three of them. And I don't know exactly what happened, but I know something happened. And I think for what it did for Anthony, and maybe for all three of them, is to realize I don't have as much control of things as I really think I do. I really need to be trusting in God and just being a passenger along for the ride. And I know from Christian being here this summer, our intern, talking to him, he's really realized that, and he's really trying to dive into that. This idea of one of the reasons we chose the Matthew 16 is both him and I felt it fits so well that we have to learn, if we're really going to start taking ground, there's an enemy that's going to still kill and destroy us, and that enemy can still kill and destroy us. But like Sam said last week, he's no match for our God. So if we are truly doing what this passage says, and if we're truly sitting in the passenger seat and just riding along and looking to him when it gets scary and weird and we don't know what to do, he's there. He's in the driver's seat. He's in control. We're just following behind him. And the enemy is terrified because we're working behind him, not in front of him. And I don't know that Anthony would 100% say this, but that's probably what happened is he does what most of us do, what I did when I was his age, what I still do sometimes today is I think God's got me, I got the spiritual high, and I want to go share it with everybody else and just go do what I want and what I know to be good, rather than just waiting and letting God show me what to do. And I see now Anthony taking time and really praying through things and asking me questions like, what does this look like? What is it, and like wanting to do it not just by himself. And I'm really excited for what God's going to do the rest of this year, next year, and as he gets into this ministry, Anthony's looking at some schools to go to learn a little bit more and where God's going to call him to next. And I'm, as a leader, trying to do a better job of praying for all of our students because I realize how much more valuable that is. So I know Anthony doesn't want you to say, "Oh, you had it rough, Anthony." I know what he wants you to hear is he decided not to stay in that mess, but to start taking steps back towards God. And one of the reasons he didn't want to share this story, if he's honest, is because he doesn't have it all figured out, and he's not back to where he was, and he doesn't have it all fixed. But so often we don't have our problems fixed. We just have to know we're going, and we're heading in the right direction again. And honestly, I can tell you, because Anthony does come in, like you said, Monday through Thursday into the office, he's in the right direction again, and he's trying. And I don't know what the future is going to hold for him exactly, but I'm excited for where he's going now. Where a year ago I would have said, I'm scared for Anthony, and I was praying for Anthony a lot. So I'm so thankful for where he's at. I'm so thankful that he realizes that there was victory won, and that's why I keep trying to remind him that story that freaked him, Taylor, and Christian all out. All three of those guys, I had to remind them, you guys prayed for your friend, you helped your friend, and he's all right now. Like, you guys won the battle through prayer. How awesome is that? So, but it's really scary, and it really stinks when you have friends hurt you, and it's really scary when you see spiritual things that you're not used to seeing, and it freaks you out. And I know some of that stuff has started to freak me out too. But the good news is the battle's been won, and we just have to be a passenger in the seat. So the kids are making the cars, and hopefully they've made some pretty cars, and realize who's in that driver's seat. It's not you, it's God. And if you trust that, if you believe that, if you allow that to happen, good things can happen. But I know if you're like me, Katie will tell you, I don't like it when Katie drives. I don't like it when other people drive me around because I like to have control. I like the driver. I like to know when I'm turning. I like to know when we're stopping. I'm just more comfortable there in a natural life, and probably in my spiritual life too, if I'm honest. But what I'm realizing is when it comes to the spiritual one, when it comes to what I need to do, and I think what we need to do as a church, is we need to just get comfortable in that passenger seat and just allow God to go where he knows we need to go, because he's the one that knows where it all ends. We don't. So why do we think we have that control? Why do we try to do that? So, Anthony, if you want to have a seat, you can. Thank you for coming up and doing this. Give Anthony a round of applause. Some of you guys heard some things and wonder, like, so why are you doing this? One, in all honesty, the most important reason is I want you to see how awesome of a youth that we have. If nothing else, you guys need to know that we have some wonderful youth. We went on Nashville last minute. We had no incidents. Since I've been here, we've never had an incident where I'm like embarrassed because our youth group just behaved so bad or we're awful. Like, we have good kids. They do a good job. We have wonderful youth counselors. We have people that come every Wednesday night, adults. We have like 10 of them that come to our youth group and just pour into the kids and love on them. They're not perfect. I'm not perfect, but they love our kids, and they do it for free. They take off vacation to go on these youth trips with these kids, and I'm so thankful for them. And they do some amazing things. But another reason is I want you guys to know we don't typically do things normal here at Big Lake Church of God. And the fact of we don't do a lot of fundraisers. You won't see us selling you pizza, cards, chocolates, whatever. We do it differently here. We do a shareholder program. And it's on your sheet. Basically, what we ask is if you feel led, if you pray about it and you want to, that you can become a shareholder. And what that means is you will give $10 a month for the rest of the year or until next year, into next year a little bit. So for a whole year, you'll give $10 a month for each share that you say. So if you want to do more than $120, you can do more than one share. You can do multiple shares. But that's how we raise all our funds. So that way, all of the funds go to the kids. It's not like we have to pay for the product and then get a little bit of money. Everything goes to the kids. And it also, instead of doing fundraisers all the time, it allows us to do more service and those things. Because one of the things that we're doing right now is we're doing a series on Wednesday nights called Difference Makers. And I'm speaking to the kids about how we need to be different. And then we need to go make a difference. And the only way for us to make a difference is for us to be different than the rest of the world. So we do things a little differently. We do the shareholder program. So the reason we were able to do our Nashville trip is because last year you guys did a great job with the shareholder program, and I had the funds to do that. So what I mean is basically all of the shareholder money goes to us doing youth trips. And instead of the youth trip, like for example, the Nashville trip that we went on, probably cost per kid about $700 per kid, even though it was for 4 nights or 3 nights. To get them down there, buy all the food, do all of that stuff, it was anywhere from $600 to $700 per kid. We charged, I think, each kid $250. And I know some of you are like, why are you charging them at all? If they can have something in the game, like if they pay for it, they're more likely to go and to follow through. And I always tell the kids, just so you know, if money's ever the issue, you're going. Like it's never like you owe me $250 or you can't go. This is just kind of here to help you. And when they say I can't afford it, usually what I do is say, okay, what can we do? Like how can you church? What can you do? What can you do? Because I want them to have something invested in this trip. Because they're an amazing, awesome trip. It's not that so much I want them to work or I need them to work or I need the money even. It's more that I want it for them to learn kind of deal. And then it also gives us the freedom to be able to go out and do some of the service projects that we've done around the church and other areas because we're not always doing fundraisers. So if you would pray and consider, the one thing I would ask last year, I must not have done a very good job. We had a great job of people just doing shares and marking that, and I'm so thankful for that. You can give through a one-time, just make the check for how much you know it needs to be made for. You can do it month, whatever you like. You can do it online. We have it as one of the tabs that you can make. You can just do youth shares as one of the ways that you give. The thing is, I want to make sure that this is above and beyond. Don't take from the church and say, okay, I'm not going to give as much, I'll give to the youth. The youth doesn't need your money that bad. I'd rather you just give to the church. But if you want to give a little bit more above and beyond your offering, and if you would fill out this card and just put it in the black box to let me know that you're doing it and that you plan on doing it. It's not because I'm going to hunt you down and say, hey, you didn't give. You said you were supposed to give this much. I don't even look at the giving records. God's been so good here, and God is good that I don't worry about that stuff too much. It's more like when I do like a youth shareholder letter, I know who my youth share people are, so I can send it just to you. So that's one way that you can do. You can also be praying for us. Like I said, we have youth on the front lines. The school is a huge mission field, and some of our kids are starting to dive into that and starting to invite their friends, and we're starting to see that. But in that, things happen. You have friends that hurt you. You see things that you're not used to seeing, and it might scare you to retreat because the enemy does not want our church or God's kingdom to take any foothold in those school systems. But we have youth that are starting to try. So be praying for our youth. Another thing is, after this service, if you go right outside these doors, Maddie will probably be out there. We sell script cards. What that is you basically can buy gift cards from different stores like Walmart, Amazon, Marathon, Dairy Queen, Taco Bell, like all these different places. And you get the full amount for whatever you pay for. So like if you give us $50 and you say a $50 Dairy Queen gift card, you get a $50 gift card we basically make Dairy Queen, the local Dairy Queen here, gives us 30% back. So that if you buy a $50 gift card, we basically made $15 for you just getting $50 in Dairy Queen. Now, not all of them are that high. Some of them are lower, and Maddie has a sheet that can kind of tell you who gives to what. But if you guys have Christmas is coming up, if you guys want to think about it and get with Maddie, she can order some. She has some on file too. But if you want to just order some, or if you really are techie and think, hey, I would use this if I just had it on my phone, I can teach you how to get an app on your phone to where you can just buy them and then have electronic gift cards, so you don't even have to carry a bunch of gift cards. But see me afterwards, and I can make a plan to know that I need to get with you on that, so you can do that. But it all just goes into a youth account for us to be able to do trips. The church does a great job of supporting us to do Wednesday night stuff. The shareholders and the script goes more to doing the trips and the outings and helping kids do those things. But those are the three big ways that you can help us. And just know when you see one of these kids around here that we got a good group of kids, and you should just be encouraging them, loving on them, and telling them how good they are and how awesome they are, because they are pretty awesome. So will you bow with me, and we'll be done. Dear Lord, thank you so much for this day. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for the youth that came up here and shared, Lord. And Lord, I know it's not easy, and I know it's a little scary. And Lord, thank you for just working in their lives. And Lord, I just pray that you would protect them as they go out and continue to be soldiers for your kingdom. And Lord, we pray that all of us would do a better job of sitting in that passenger seat and just trusting where you're going. And Lord, forgive us for when we try to get in that driver's seat and to take control. Lord, be with us this week. Bless us, be over us, guide us, and lead us. In Jesus' name, amen. A couple quick announcements. Thank you for all of you who came out yesterday to the Moms Market. There was quite the turnout, and it was a great event. Another thing that Sam and I forgot to announce, because we're not very on top of it sometimes. We're human. Some of you may not know this. Some of you may. If you guys bother Maddie on Sunday for secretary stuff, she's going to tell you that she's no longer our church secretary. Not a bad thing, a really good thing. Maddie got offered a full-time position at the library. She was working 2 jobs with us, and she was working way too much. And the library stepped up and was able to pay her full-time. So Maddie will still be here. She's going to still help out with things like script and other things. We're so grateful for that. But we're also grateful that she's able to only work 1 job, because she was working way too hard for her, and we could tell it, and we've been praying that God would help her make a decision, and they made her an offer she couldn't refuse. So we are currently filling the gaps and trying some things out for a church secretary, and I think we got it kind of covered, and you'll hear about that in the future. But we just want to thank Maddie for all that she did, for her hard work, and just to kind of let you guys know, if you have questions about church stuff that you think you'd usually call Maddie for, because, hey, she's the church secretary and she'll know, don't bother her anymore. Bother Sam and I, and we'll take care of it for you, okay? Thanks, Maddie. Thank you guys for all you do.